You know, computers are so daggone fast. Things are just lightning fast, if not faster. So in the old days, Teradata would often say, you know, we're going to let each amp do their own locking. But they ran into too many things called the deadly embrace. As you can see here, we have two users, Squiggy and Lorraine. And they both wanted to run an update statement on the same table, and they were so close to submitting it at the same time that half the amps locked for Squiggy, half the amps locked for Lorraine, and then they just stood there saying, hey, Lorraine, I need those amps. Could you unlock that? I would love to, Squiggy, but I'm really in a hurry today, so possibly you could unlock your stuff. You know, Lorraine, I've worked here a long time. I know, Squiggy, but I am a lot more powerful here. And it just went back and forth, and they basically said, I'll never give that up. And that's a deadly embrace. You're locked forever. Teradata's found ways to come and say, look, these are called deadlocks. We're going to abort one of these queries. So they don't want that to happen. So what they do now is they're going to assign one amp to be in charge of locking for that one employee table. We'll see that next. In today's day and age, Teradata uses what's called a pseudo table strategy. In other words, if you went to the movie in today's Teradata land and there were many movies playing, there would only be one window to get tickets for a particular movie. And this is what happens here. We know that Squiggy and Lorraine both did update statements on the employee table, and they entered them almost at the exact same time. What Teradata does, it assigns one amp responsibility for the employee table movie, and that's the one line. And as you can see here, a pseudo table is opened on amp 3, and Squiggy beat Lorraine by just that much. And they go, hey, Lorraine, sorry. Squiggy is now going to be running this. You see, it's a pseudo table. I like to call it the queue or the movie line, but it's called in Teradata a pseudo table. You'll see that in the explain here, and it's going to make a lot of sense to you. Now, why amp 3? Is it responsible for locking everything? Well, of course not. But both are querying and updating the employee underscore table. That's the table name. So right away, the parsing engine says, we will tell you which amp will control the locking for this always. Hash employee underscore table. What's its row hash? Count over the number of buckets. What's it say? Amp 3. Amp 3, you will always be responsible for the employee table locking. And now you will open a pseudo table, because guess what? The movie's now playing, and that's why you will see the word pseudo table in all of your explains. You're going to read your explain plans better than ever. You just did a query on the employee table. You looked at the explain, and here's what it said. Number 1, first, we lock a distinct SQL class, the database, pseudo table for read on a row hash to prevent a global deadlock for the SQL class .employee table. That means you're in the queue. You're in line right then and there. Why the word distinct? Well, there's only one pseudo table on one amp for the employee table. And why did we lock this on a row hash? Well, Teradata hashed the table name, and that's how it assigned the locking amp. So now you know you are in the queue. In the second little phase, it says number 2, next, we lock SQL class.employee table for read. What's that mean? That means you're up to bat. You got in the queue, you got in line, and then Teradata said, okay, who's next? And you are next. That amp's going to go over the BINET and tell everybody, hey, Tera-Tom's here. I want all of you to lock your employee table for read for Tera-Tom. Tera-Tom. And they all do, and now I'm the one that's up to bat. These two statements were so hard to understand for me, but now that I understand how the locking works, I read these explains to the kids before bedtime.
This lesson is brought to you by Coffing Data Warehousing. The next is Query Chameleon, a query tool looking to help your data adapt to any surroundings.